happens.
But no, you can't do this to me. You can't do this to me. I call you a bit before so we can prepare, and then we've just had about a 20-minute discussion about the things we're going to talk about. But that discussion takes 5 minutes, and then you've been talking about stuff that we want to deal with on the podcast. And then you don't.
So, and now we'll do it.
Podcast yet?
Yeah. This is what I do to you. You know this.
The thing that gets me though, if this, and I hope it does because I love doing this. If this podcast ever gets big, and we do a live show or something like that, what I want is you to somehow replicate this, right? So we go and sit in a room, and everyone
the green room.
No, not even the green room. Like we go on the stage.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
We go on the stage and sit down, and then everything's dark, and I'm just like, oh, is anyone here? And they're like, no, we just thought we'd get everything set up and all this kind of stuff. And me and you are just chatting for 20 minutes, and then you turn on all the lights and everyone's there, and I'm like, motherfucker.
That would be very good. It would take a bit of doing, but I think it could be done.
I believe in your abilities to do this.
Yeah. I'd need a production team.
Yeah.
So this podcast has to go very big.
Yeah.
But, it happens with the weirdest people. I mean, Spittin' Chicklets is a very fun podcast. It's all hockey. But, some of the wildest characters in hockey, I would say, are on that podcast. Anyways, welcome to Better Luck Next Week. And it's been a couple of weeks. I have my Christmassy stuff still.
Yeah, we've still got our
in the background.
I might need to figure out somewhere else better to do this where I can have a background because it's just a wall.
It is just a wall. It's a bit boring.
I can stick stickers on it.
But I didn't have any party hats to celebrate the new year. But I did have my Team Canada jersey because in Canada, the World Juniors are the New Year's.
Yeah.
Christmassy New Year's stuff. And we'll get to that in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we start with F1? Because the schedule came out today.
Yeah.
And I think the two of us are a little bit
I just
disappointed, I guess.
The thing is, and this showed this year, F1 is really boring when the teams know what's coming. Because the problem is when the teams know what's coming, they know how to predict, they know how to plan, and everything's planned down to a T. So there's no and basically you're just if in a baseball term you're just basically giving him an underarm throw and being surprised when you're giving Hamilton an underarm toss and then he's knocking it out the park and everyone else is going, oh, wonder how that happened.
Right.
So my frustration with this is that you're giving, as much as the cars change, you're giving the teams places and tracks that they've been before in the same order.
Yeah, this is effectively the schedule that was supposed to happen in 2020.
Yeah.
And then did it.
There is an element of it being planned, round the world.
Wondering.
Yeah, round the world wise. So basically, it would be a pain to go from Australia to the Netherlands, then to Vietnam. It's kind of planned in a certain way. But my issue is that the teams know what the weather's going to be like. They know what the track's going to be like. They know how the cars are going to react. They know how everything's going to deal with on the 15th of March in Australia. They know how that's going to...
I would also say that, you mentioned that it's planned, but I don't even know if it's planned that well because we go from Azerbaijan to Canada to France. Are they flying over the Pacific to get to Canada and then over the Atlantic again to get to France?
They have two versions of everything, Jared, and they leapfrog. So
I guess
they'll send everything out to Australia, and then they'll send another load of cargo to Bahrain. And then while they've packed everything up in Australia, the team themselves, yes, will fly to Bahrain, but that cargo will then be
go
shipped
to China, right?
Go to Vietnam, and then it kind of they leapfrog so that they can ship more cargo instead of having to fly it all.
Yeah,
I
because we
think
go from Japan to the United States.
yeah, I don't
Anyways,
know. But all I'm
The-
saying, sorry,
well, I was just going to say the main point is that the Grand Prix that were the most interesting this season were the ones that weren't on tracks that they knew well, tracks that weren't necessarily set up properly. Like I forget which one it was, but the one that was brand newly paved
oh yeah,
and was slippy as all hell.
Brilliant.
Wee.
So what I'm thinking is, look, we know that money is the decider in F1. It's unfortunate, but we know that Australia pays a lot of money to be the first race in the thing, and we know that Abu Dhabi play a hell of a lot of money to be the last race. But
Which is fine.
Which is fine. You can't mix that. And there's a few places that we've got to go, even though don't like it very much, like Monaco and all this kind of stuff. But what I'm saying is that, let's say that you go to America. Now, in the United States, there are multiple different circuits in continent of the United States that you could either race at different one each year, or you go, okay, this year we're going to race in the States twice. We're going to do Austin, Texas, and then we're going to do somewhere else. And then, maybe you are in Great Britain and you go, we're going to race twice in Great Britain this year, or we're going to race twice in the Netherlands this year, or twice in Spain this year, and just mix it up a little bit.
Because give it a little bit of spice. Sprinkle a little,
Even if you have 5 races a year, that almost called wild cards. So, okay, yeah, the teams will know. It could be five races out of 25 tracks. Now, that doesn't mean that every year those 5 are going to be amazing, but it gives 5 tracks that they may not have gone to in 10 years. Because the problem is when they land in Australia, they're going to go onto their laptops and they're going to open a file that's called Australia data, and they're going to have the data for the last 5 years.
From the same track with similar cars, and it's
very similar temperatures.
Yeah.
So it's it's meh.
I agree. I would like because you could do it as well in a way. If you had these 5 wild cards, you could do it where you basically don't announce anything until like they need to ship it there.
Yeah.
Right. You basically say these 5 races, you don't know where they're going to go until like a month before.
Yeah. And I mean, you could do some incredible stuff with that. So, I'm trying to see if there's one there's not a race in France this year.
No, there is.
Yeah. But what if you turn around
Canada?
There's a race in France, and they go, yeah, cool, what track? And you go, okay, Le Mans. You're going to race around Le Mans, which they'll have had no data for.
Right.
None. And they turn up and they'll just go, and that would be a great race.
Yeah.
Because it's a place of historical significance. Speaking of places of historical significance, they are going to Monaco, which I get. Monaco is a great qualifying circuit, but apart from that, it's relatively pointless nowadays.
Well, and this was part of our discussion before I started the podcast, where you were talking about where basically everything's gotten smaller and smaller because there's more and more crap that they need to have on the other side of the track. So the actual road is thinner than it used to be, and the cars are much wider than they used to be. So there's literally no room to pass somebody unless it's your teammate and they get told to let you go effectively.
That's basically it.
Yeah.
I mean, that was why Hamilton, the last time we raced in Monaco, Hamilton was able to pull off a worldie where Max Verstappen was stuck behind him for 43 laps on tyres that were designed to last 20. Because unless Lewis Hamilton put the car in a position where Max Verstappen could overtake him, the only way that Max was going to get through was by crashing into him. It's just like...
That wouldn't have gone well.
No. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, we just want to see a bit of a sprinkling of paprika in the schedule now and then,
A few rounds where I go, oh, I don't know what's going to happen there. Or, oh, that'll be exciting. Just give it some...
It's a very safe schedule, right? It's the one that they were going to do in 2020. Everybody's getting money again. Everybody who didn't get a race last year is happy now. Because they were supposed to have one and didn't. So I get it from that perspective, but I think it's an opportunity wasted as well because you went to places that you hadn't been in 15 years to make up for the fact that you couldn't go to these other places, the ones that were supposed to be on the schedule. So you I don't know. Yeah, I think we both agree. Let's move on.
Roll the dice a bit. I think you wanted to talk about Nikita Mazepin, didn't you?
Yeah, Haas has seemingly said everything's fine. They're just going to roll with it and move on. Which, like, after the first video, I was like, okay, they're friends, whatever. But he just keeps doing dumb things.
Yeah, the problem for me is that, look, I think we've been very, very lucky with the young drivers that we've had in the sport having great PR training.
Mm-hmm.
The guys I'm talking about, George Russell, Lando Norris, Alex Albon, Charles Leclerc, to an element Max Verstappen, but I don't really consider him in the same ilk. They are all social media stars, Twitch stream warriors, and they all show a bit of personality, and that's brilliant, but it's also like they're lovely guys. You don't hear them stepping out of line or doing anything wrong.
This guy hasn't even stepped into an F1 car yet, and he's already drum up more controversy than I think Lewis Hamilton did in his first 5 years of driving.
But this is the thing where I go, okay, if he was a bit dodgy, that's not the right word, but you understand what I mean. But then when he got in the car, he was an absolute weapon. It would make sense. Like Max Verstappen did the whole shoving of Esteban Ocon. Cool. Like Max Verstappen is not the greatest PR-wise, which is why he doesn't do a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But you put him in a car, and he's brilliant. Okay, yes, every now and again he doesn't finish a race because he's pushed it too hard, but that's part of learning. That's part of growing up. Lewis Hamilton did that earlier in his career. But this kid's downside is so bad that it's a problem if he doesn't get in the car and instantly produce, which he's going to be trying to do that in a Haas next to a Schumacher.
Yeah, and I'm not going to go into the rest of what he's done. If you want to look at it, you can Google it. It's not pretty though,
No. But it's how long are Haas going to be able to put up with this? Because let's say 4 races into the season, Mick Schumacher has out-qualified him every single time, out-raced him, and because of watching some of what Nikita Mazepin's done in F2, he's definitely going to put some people out. He's definitely going to put the car in some positions. I reckon he'll have a crash or two. And then he's going to be in the public eye in the media. When he was in F2, he'd probably have 3 or 4 reporters that wanted to talk to him.
And let's say that, Mazepin, on top of not qualifying as well as Schumacher, he also, breaks COVID protocol or something, does something else to set the media ablaze again. How do you then walk all of that back?
That's the bit that I go, where is his upside going to come from? Yeah. Because yes, his daddy's bringing a hell of a lot of money to the team.
Well, there it is.
Yeah, there it is. But at what point does that money start? At what point does him being in one car going to make it difficult for the team? Because let's say, for example, I think no big sponsors have been announced yet, but let's say, so for example, Haas partner with some company, and then Nikita Mazepin says something, and he's got the name of that company across his shirt.
Yeah,
that company's then going to not be happy, and they'll either pull their funding. And there's only so many times that Nikita Mazepin's dad, in my personal opinion, if Haas sign a £60 million deal, which is how much these things cost with Coca-Cola, let's say, and then Nikita Mazepin says something derogatory, and Coca-Cola pull their £60 million, which they'd be within their rights to do. How many times is his dad going to go, okay, well, here's another £60 million? Like,
right.
how many times are they going to bail him out? And at what point do Haas go, do you know what? There are other drivers that can bring money in. Because Alex Albon brings money.
He does. Sergio Perez brings money.
So Sergio Perez is now with Red Bull.
And there we go.
Nico Hülkenberg would probably bring some money. There are drivers out there that could bring you money.
Hülkenberg would certainly bring, maybe not initial money, but he would bring advertising, because isn't it the Hülkenbergs that do the Heineken ad?
Think so.
Is that Rosberg?
Haas are going to have no one in the car that knows how to translate what's wrong with the car. And that maybe, I think, is going to become a problem. That the way if I'm fantasizing in my head, if you're 4 weeks into the season, Nikita Mazepin is causing you loads of problems, because let's say, for example, he does something that he did in F2 where he wasn't happy with someone lapping him, so he blocked them. If you do that to someone like Max Verstappen, he's going to rip your head off.
Yeah, or like imagine he does that to Lewis Hamilton, who had a bad pit stop.
Yeah. Doesn't care who your dad is, doesn't care who you are, you were in his way. And then you're at that point and your sponsors are going because no one wants to have their name on Nikita Mazepin. What if your decision is get rid of him and bring in an Alex Albon or a Nico Hülkenberg or someone with experience that can sit in the car, drive it around the circuit and go, this is what's wrong with it? I'm making that decision. And I'm going, you've caused us too much problems. The money that you're bringing into the team has cost us more, that we could bring in ourselves. Bye.
Well, and of course, this is all fantasy. You mentioned fantasy. This is all our fantastical, ideas. And I guess we'll just leave it at that. There's not much else really to discuss in F1.
One thing I did want to bring up that I felt was a little bit weird, and I don't know. It's not a massive, beautiful thing for the team that had done it. But whenever Formula One drivers are walking around the paddock, they always have the PR minder with them. Someone showing them around the paddock and all that kind of stuff. And something I noticed that I didn't feel very nice about compared to another team was Daniel Ricciardo's treating of Renault. Now, I watched all the interviews and stuff like that. As soon as Daniel Ricciardo got out of the car, he did not have a Renault minder with him. He was on his own.
This is how Renault treated Ricciardo, you mean?
Well, from what I can see,
yeah,
he was walking around on his own. He didn't have a minder with him and all that kind of stuff. And there was no message on any of their social media about thanks, Daniel. It was great having you, blah, 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 blah. And then you compare that to what McLaren did, where they put together, it genuinely touched me, a video in Italian telling Ferrari to look after Carlos Sainz, which to me was just the ultimate showing of tact and love and how things should be treated.
And Vettel leaving Ferrari was quite touching as well.
Yeah, they were very nice about it, and it was a nice thing. And then you've got this from Renault. It just like the guy's been with you for 2 years. Okay, he's leaving to your competitor. show some class. It just,
Yeah, I don't know. I remember the only things I've seen was the F1 Instagram compilations of everybody saying goodbye, and I did kind of find that the goodbye, thank you from Renault and Ricardo was a little bit. It was like, yeah, thanks very much. Good luck at McLaren, and that was kind of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. Oh well. Anyways,
Anyway,
he's gone. He's out of there anyways. And I mean, we can talk about all kinds of stuff that's gone on in NFL because they have continued despite various other issues. Let's start with week 16 and who won and lost, I guess. And so
I'm gonna go on a rant at some point in one of these. I want you to be ready for it. Okay.
I know you will, and it'll be a good one because we both agree on it for sure. So we're looking at week 15, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yes. It's the Bills and the Broncos to start us off. That was a win for the Bills.
Wait, I'm trying to find what week I'm on. 1 second.
Dominant one. It was week 15, right? Yeah, because week 16 was Christmas. Yeah.
Sorry, it was my own. Yeah, my own handwriting being terrible. Sorry.
Well, yeah, we know that, but that's okay. The Packers beat the Panthers 24-16.
They beat them.
Yeah. It's like the Packers seem to have this weird thing where if Aaron Rodgers has a good game, the defense doesn't, but if the defense has a decent game, Aaron Rodgers doesn't. Right? I mean, that's
going into the playoffs is all I can say.
Yeah. I mean, holding the Panthers to 16 points, that's a decent defensive performance, but then you only score 24.
Yeah. The Colts beat the Texans, which I just think is difficult. I think we do need to comment on JJ Watt's interview where he was basically asked, "Oh, are you tanking?" And I don't think there's any element of JJ Watt's human being or character that can tank. He is putting it all on the line. He's playing as hard as he can. And I think you can see from the fact that whenever they lose, Deshaun Watson sits on the sidelines with his head in his hands and he's a broken man, that this was not how they wanted this season to go. They don't like losing. The culture of the Texans is not a losing culture. It doesn't work for them.
Well, and we know why it happened. Their now departed coach and general manager, in my opinion, is the sole reason that they are where they are now. But I think that the JJ Watt interview not only hits home for the Texans specifically because it was all about how if you can't show up and you can't play, then why are you here? We have one of the best jobs in the world, if not the best job. We get paid millions of dollars to play a game. And if you can't show up for that, you shouldn't be here. And I think that goes for all the major league sports, and any job where you get paid a lot to do something that's fun, that's not necessarily considered a, like a gritty, dirty job, like, working in a steel mill or something, right? These guys get paid a lot of money to play a sport. And for me, I think that really hit where I've seen teams and I've seen games across the sports where you just go, these guys aren't even trying today. Why am I watching?
Yeah.
And so to have him, one of the most prominent football personalities, I'd say currently, say something like that, not only about his team, but about athletes and
in general, overall,
highly paid athletes overall, highly paid people overall. I don't want to single out athletes because I'm not one and that's not fair, but highly paid people in general. Just because you get paid a lot of money doesn't mean you can take a day off. And so I credit JJ for saying that. And I agree. You really see
I agree.
The passion and the heartbreak behind what he's been going through this season.
Like the thing is for me is that you can see the kind of man he is through what he does. I don't think there's any fake behind it because he works genuinely very hard. And he's one of those guys that I kind of go, yeah, I mean, I get it. Like, he's not one of those guys where if they're struggling on defense, he doesn't want to be pulled out of the defensive line rotation. He goes, no, I want every single snap. I want it all. And then even then, you know, when he utterly obliterates a quarterback, he still helps them up.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, you get. And it's like, okay, yeah, cool. You're doing it the right way, mate. Yeah, I am looking forward to what the Texans do next year.
Yeah, and I hope they do a lot because I think there's certain members of that team that are going to expect them to do a lot, a la J.J. Watt, Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
The Titans demolished the Lions.
Speaking of people that don't have a job anymore, probably a couple of the defensive linemen for the Lions, because at one point in this game, Derrick Henry ran straight into a defensive lineman and just bulled him out of the way.
Yeah, it was great.
Literally, the guy's like this going to tackle him, and Derrick Henry just trucks him. And like, there is no conversation that can be had in the defensive line room where, like, if he runs and he hits your outside arm or something like that, you can go, yeah, coach, I couldn't wrap him up. Didn't happen. My feet were in the wrong place. No, how do you argue when you were perfectly set and the man just ran at you? He just came downhill at you, and you just took it to the face, and he just kept on going.
You know those cartoons where people get run over and they're just splayed out flat on the pavement like that. That's what happened to that defensive lineman when...
it'd be one of those ones where you'd struggle to go home and look your wife in the eye because she just witnessed you get fucked.
Yeah.
That's what happened to that defensive line. There's no way of... Yeah.
Just destroyed.
Did you see that someone uploaded it to Pornhub?
There's been a few of those.
Whoever's doing it, credit to you, because it's very
who's the one that there was the one I think it was the Raiders either wide receiver or running back that just threw a guy to the ground with his face mask as he tried to wrap him up. That was great. The Bears beat the Vikings, and I don't think anyone cares.
No.
Seattle came back and beat Washington. Now, I had picked Washington because they were on a bit of a tear.
Also, from this game, just because I saw it after, I didn't realize how big DK Metcalf is. After the game, there was a guy that he obviously went to college with who we were talking after, and they lined up next to each other and they were same shoulder height, same width and size and all this kind of stuff. And I went, oh, that's okay, cool. And then I Googled that guy. The guy he was hugging was a defensive lineman. Anyway, the Dolphins beat my team.
Yeah, and it's just been kind of sad the past 2 weeks, really, for the Patriots. We've seen Bill Belichick show emotion for the first time in like 10 years. He threw a phone because he was angry.
Yeah, I'd be angry too. I am angry, Bill, but I am angry at you. The Ravens destroyed the Jaguars.
Yep.
The Bucks beat the Falcons, but
and so this game, the Falcons did it again, where they have a 17-0 lead at the half, and Tom Brady just goes, "Right, lads."
It's Tom. Like, have you seen the meme where it's when you see Tom Brady sat on the sidelines, like this, with his hands kind of looking down? I think a couple of the Falcons players got PTSD.
Yeah, because they remembered what happened in the Super Bowl a few years ago, and it happened again.
And then it happened again, and you would
31 points in the second half, 21 in the third quarter. And the Buccaneers just absolutely bent the Falcons over a table.
I don't know what the connection is between Brady and Antonio Brown, but it works. Is what happens, because there is no, like, Brady used to do a lot with a little, if we're honest. But now he has everything that he could possibly want. It's a giant toy box. he just keeps that he can just spread it around, and I don't even really think he's had to push himself much. I mean, he was 390 for 2 touchdowns. Mike Evans had 6 for 110. Antonio Brown had 5 for 93. I mean, the lowest person is a running back who went 3 for 16. Just,
well, you see, in running backs aren't supposed to be catching the ball that often because they're running backs.
yes.
So works out in the end.
Yeah.
Now, the Cowboys beat the 49ers. And the Cowboys seem to be turning their season around? Question mark? Maybe, probably not, but it's, why are you winning now? Anyways, they did it. The Cardinals beat the Eagles.
Yeah,
which makes sense. This was a closer game than I think the Cardinals wanted it to be. I mean, Jalen Hurts was 338 yards for 3 touchdowns. Kyler Murray did throw an interception. So the Cardinals' defense still leaves a bit to be desired, I think.
Yeah,
but they're still winning. Somebody else who won for like the first time in months.
Yeah,
the Jets.
I don't know.
They beat the Rams somehow.
Yeah.
Jared Goff basically performed the same as Sam Darnold.
Yeah. The Chiefs beat the Saints. What more do we really have to say about that?
Not much at all. The Browns,
it wasn't much, but it seemed that they were just trying stuff out. The Browns beat the Giants.
Beat the Giants.
It was quite decisive. They did what they needed to do.
Well, here we go now. The Bungles beat the Steelers 27-17. And this is after one of their most prominent players decided to film a TikTok on the Bengals logo at center field.
Did you see how much he got hit?
He proceeded to get absolutely blown up. That was it. His career was over.
That it looked like it hurt as well.
Shocking that, players wanted to do that to him after he filmed a TikTok on center field. That's not the first time the Steelers have done that either. That's not the first time other teams have done that this year. Yeah. Why do we keep dancing on logos of opponents when we visit their stadiums? I don't get it. You don't do that. It's sacrilege. It's like placing the flag of your country or somebody else's country on the ground and walking on it.
Basically, all you succeed in doing is pissing off the opponent off at defense.
Yeah.
It's what you succeeded in doing. I actually had the Bengals. I just want... Look.
Well, I picked the Bengals a few times before. And then you judged me for it. But I couldn't bring myself to do it this time.
No.
Because it's the Steelers, and they shouldn't be losing those games. But here we are. And then the Saints pumped the Vikings. So
that looked like it hurt as well.
Yeah.
Should we just quickly go through these other ones because we didn't make predictions? The
Buccaneers destroyed the Lions. The 49ers beat the Cardinals, which was a weird one. I don't know really how that happened. The Dolphins beat the Raiders, which, by the way, Fitzmagic is on the COVID list now.
Yeah, that's difficult. The Dolphins need to find out whatever it is that turns Fitzmagic on.
Well, and Tua, to be honest, because neither of them played very well in this game.
Well, neither of them played very well until you gave Fitzmagic 19 seconds.
Yeah, and then suddenly Fitzmagic was 9 for 13 and 182 yards and a touchdown. So when I say neither of them played very well, I mean they didn't acquire many yards, but they were efficient with their passing. I mean, Tua was 17 for 22. That's pretty good.
Right.
Yeah, it's not bad, but he only got 94 yards. So his receivers weren't really, they'd catch the ball and then wouldn't get it downfield.
So the next one, the Ravens beat the Giants. Who's surprised? The Chiefs beat the Falcons again, but if I'm honest, this looked like a structured practice. They were trying out trick plays. They were doing some strange stuff. Yeah. I think, the Chiefs were clinched at this point, so I think they honestly just did enough.
And they allowed Matt Ryan to go 27 for 35 for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Do you want to pull the pin now? Let me loose.
Yeah. Should we fire in the hole?
Yeah. Right. I'm looking right at the camera here. Browns fans, listen to me. Right. Do not put this on Baker. Okay. Let's start with the first thing. First thing first, it's his 3rd year in the league. Okay, that's fine. We can forgive him some sins for that. In his first year, you were 0-16. In his second year, you won some games for the first time. In his 3rd year, his 3rd head coach in his 3rd offensive system, you're now 10-5. With the possibility of going to the playoffs. Have a conversation with yourself 3 years ago when you were 0-16 and went, hey, we could be in within a shot of the playoffs. And then once you've had that conversation, then we'll move on to this. Name me one other quarterback, Jared, that you could take away his 4 starting wide receivers, 2 of his best offensive linemen, and then take away from the defense their starting linebackers. So you lost 9 starting players, including some coaches. Some coaches were gone, but I can't find the official list of who was gone. And then you try and win the game. Now, the problems with this initially for me are what the hell happened in Kevin Stefanski's head. At 1:00 in the morning, you get a phone call that goes, oh yeah, 4 of your wide receivers aren't going to be playing tomorrow and 2 of your offensive line aren't going to be running game. And you go, shit, okay. Should we change the game plan? What, you mean that game plan where we've planned to throw 56 times? No, keep it the same and just give 4 guys off the practice squad their first go. Now, you've got 4 guys on the practice squad. Baker doesn't know where they're going. In fact, one of them at one point ran down the field with his arms up in the bloody air because he didn't know the route.
And he admitted that on national television.
As a quarterback, you're just sat there going, who the fuck am I going to throw this to? And then he goes, cool, tight ends. I can work with the tight ends. And he throws through to David Njoku, who then just seems to fall off a cliff and can't get any separation. And then with Austin Adams, I can admit a couple of those were basically here, which I can understand for Austin Adams. He's got to lift his arms above his head and try and catch those, but you're an NFL tight end. Do it. There was a few where he hit Austin in the numbers. It was here. Didn't catch it.
And Austin Hooper still went 70 or 71 yards on 7 catches. So he was getting a first down a catch on average.
But I don't think that now me and you have had this argument. We should have recorded it. But
it was funny.
This game, in my opinion, is not on Baker's head. There is, if you're cutting the pie of blame, which I think, don't know where I came up with that saying.
That's a good one. You should keep that.
Thank you. I'm going to give a big slice to Stefan Stefanski and go, buddy, I know you're a first-year head coach.
Change the game plan.
Change your game plan, and quarterback wide receiver chemistry is important. The next thing, I'm going to turn around to Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb and go, what the fuck? 15 yards?
11 for 20. Well, 11 for 28 yards for Chubb and 4 for 11 yards for Kareem Hunt.
It's 30 yards of total running offense.
2 touchdowns. But
you are number 3 ranked running team in the league, and you have 15 yards.
Yeah. Well, they didn't use them because, like you said, the game plan was, well, Baker Mayfield's going to throw it 53 times and hope for the best.
Yeah. And throwing 53 times when you've got Jarvis Landry in the backfield and Hollywood in the backfield, that makes sense. Because those two can deal with it. But whoever these practice squad guys were just like...
I mean, he threw to Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb more than he threw to the other half of the receiving corps.
Is that much of a surprise? But this, to me, is one of those ones where you look at the NFL and go, really? Why did this game still go on?
For me, I'm not even surprised because they already did this to the Ravens, where the Ravens basically went, okay, here's 2 losses, because there was no way for them to be able to play any kind of structured game with the lack of people that they had. And yes, it's, there's the side of it where you can go, okay, they're getting punished because their players are, getting COVID. But how are they getting COVID? Are they, if they're breaking COVID rules, then they should personally be penalized, not the team. It's not the team's fault that their players are being dumb.
Yeah.
But then on the other side, if it's the team's fault that the players are, the restrictions are lax, for example, on the players, perhaps from the team, then yes, penalize the team. So maybe there's some stuff behind the scenes that we're not hearing about that, maybe the Browns have been doing some irresponsible things as a team, right?
Well, no, but from the wide receivers, basically they've separated the team up into position groups. So the wide receivers work out together, the tight ends, and you have the 4 starters, the 4 backups, and blah, 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 blah. Now, the 4 of them did a workout, and then as they are allowed, went into a tub, did their recovery together. And then basically, apparently, someone that had a positive COVID test, or their coach or someone like that, had gone in that whirlpool, and they were the next ones in. And they got, right, the 4 of you are gone.
Right. So truly, this isn't on the team. Is this really on the players? It's really just an accident in the end.
So this leads me on to my next discussion, is that I think we're going to have to talk about this because there's a few games here that are going to depend on if some teams go to the playoffs or not. The Browns haven't been in their facility for quite a few days this week.
The facility shut down on Sunday.
They're doing the Zoom stuff on laptops and stuff like that, but they're going to go and play the Steelers potentially for a playoff spot, which should be a very interesting game. But it'll be an interesting game if the Browns are at full strength. Because if they're not, this is just going to be a...
Mind you, the Steelers might play down to their competition like they did against the Bengals.
Yes, possibly. They did beat they did lose to the Bengals. But this is what frustrates me, because if the Browns turn up and they've got Baker, some guys that they were on lunch that were big enough to be offensive linemen, a tight end, a running back, and some sticks, why play this game?
Right. And it's the same question that we had about the Ravens, a couple of weeks ago. Why are we playing these games? Because you're effectively just handing the team a couple of losses. And what you're going to do here, yes, it was the New York Jets who, I think a lower tier, B League football team would still, be able to hand them a loss.
If the correct offensive weapons had been there and the Browns were at full strength, this would have been a win for the Browns.
Oh, this would have been an absolute domination for the Browns. It wouldn't have even been close.
No.
So, and now they've got to go against theoretically one of the best teams in the league, but I think everyone's questioning that at the moment. So we'll see how it goes, and we'll see how how much strength, I guess, they have for Sunday.
Mm.
But it just goes to show that the NFL has zero care for anything other than the money that their owners spend.
Yeah. How have you not? There is an element of, if you turn around to teams and you tell us when you're going to play the game, then yeah, the Browns probably went, oh, we're not going to play, delay 4 weeks because then we might have Odell back and all that kind of stuff. I think the logic should be, if they're down more than 5 of their starters due to COVID, then, you should build into the schedule a bit of cushion.
Yeah. Well, because to me, you'll see a lot of times, oh, well, so-and-so's day to day with the flu, right? So like they're out, they take a couple of days, they get back from the flu or the cold or whatever, and they're fine. This is no regular illness. This is COVID-19. The second it gets into the facility, it could spread like wildfire. We all know this. Mm-hmm. So to me, this is not the same, and you should be allowing some sort of extra exception for teams that have a small breakout of COVID.
Yeah, it's gonna.
Well, because you're ruining the integrity of the game, and you're ruining the integrity of the season, quite frankly, by going, oh, well, this team's got too much COVID, guess they're going to lose. Why?
If it was a situation where the 52 individual men on the squad were the ones that would decide or something like that. But the thing is, and I don't know exactly, but there are probably a couple of thousand people that make an NFL team run. At least 1,000. Because for every player,
it takes a small city to run an NFL team.
Yeah. So it isn't down to the 52 guys on the squad. If the person that's cleaning the weight room has a positive COVID test, every person that's used that weight room's got to go.
Bye.
And that's not the team's decision.
Yeah.
They haven't orchestrated, they haven't planned this. It's just...
And this weight room person could be one of the safest people there, but they just so happened to go get groceries one afternoon and interact with somebody who didn't know that they had COVID and got a positive test, a week and a half later.
You pick up an apple in the supermarket, put it in your basket and adjust your mask. You've got COVID.
It's that simple. And so again, it just goes to show that the NFL is the bottom tier when it comes to the big 4 leagues and caring about their players and player safety and the integrity of their sport, apparently.
Yeah, right. Let's run through week 17 because there's a few games here that don't matter because none of these teams can go any further. So the Lions and the Vikings, neither of these teams are going to make it. So I'm going to go with the Vikings just because
I'll go with the Lions just to be opposite with you and have some fun.
Now, the Buccaneers are clinched against the Falcons. So I'm going to go with the Bucs just because I think they're going to. Why is this game even going on?
The Patriots and the Jets?
Who cares?
I mean, you kind of do. Deep down, you care a little bit. I know you do.
Well, just because it hurts.
I'm picking the Patriots, if that helps.
You know what? The problem is that, and this, you're going to hate me if this is a Patriots fan. Going to the playoffs for the past couple of years hasn't been something that I've had to go, will we, won't we? We were. It wasn't a conversation of will we make the playoffs. It's will we actually, will we make it to the divisional game?
How deep will you go? Yeah.
How deep will we go? Whereas this year, it's like you're trying to make me as a Patriots fan look forward to the draft, which is famously something that we are terrible at.
It's a new concept for you.
Yeah, Bill Belichick's got to learn how to spend money on players.
Or you move on from Bill Belichick. Or you move on. Let's move on before you descend into a pit of sadness and despair. The Bills are going to beat the Dolphins.
Yeah, because the Bills are very powerful right now.
Yeah.
Bills are a great football team.
And I would be okay with Josh Allen getting the MVP.
The connection that he and Stephon Diggs has is incredible. Because like I watched one where he's in the pocket and Stephon Diggs runs a 30-yard out. And over the 30 yards, he can't see where Stephon is. And Stephon's fighting with the defender, trying to get separation. And he does, a load of this and he's all over the route and all that kind of stuff. And then he gets to the corner of the route, turns, and Josh has already thrown the ball. Like the route so far that Josh has got to throw where he thinks Stephon's going to be, looking at Stephon Diggs, he's not going to make it to that point. But he still throws it there, and Stephon Diggs just picks it up, and you just go, Vikings, why did you let that guy go? He's an incredible wide receiver, and he's now found a quarterback that can go, cool, Stephon Diggs can fucking catch. Cool.
Steelers and Browns.
I'm going to go Browns.
I'm going to have to go Steelers because of all of this garbage that's going on.
Yeah, I
Maybe
can understand.
They'll be full strength and they'll prove me wrong, but I can't.
But the Steelers have already said that they're sitting Big Ben. He's not going to play. He's not even going to dress. Mason Rudolph is going to be their starter, and they're not activating a lot of their starters. So it's going to be like a weak Steelers team versus hopefully a strong Browns team. The difficult thing is then they will then face each other next week in the divisional round of the playoffs, which I think is just, I like the logic coming out of the Browns at the moment where they turned around and said, how are you feeling about this week, and they're all just saying, well, our playoffs just start a week early. We have to win this game to get through. That's how it's going to be. Another
Giants
one.
And Cowboys, nobody cares about. I picked the Giants.
I picked the Cowboys.
Yeah, that's fine.
The problem is for the Giants that all this season has done is just going to prove how much of a contract they're going to have to give Saquon Barkley because they've done terrible without him.
And Daniel Jones, really.
Yeah, the Bengals face the Ravens. I mean, this is just the Bengals have beaten some teams, but no.
It's not going to be the Ravens. The Colts and the Jags. Go with the Colts.
Yeah, as much as I hate them.
Well, yeah, because apparently they're a competitive team now.
The Texans and the Titans, this is a difficult one because I would like the Texans to win their last game of the season. I think actually, to me, if there is anyone that can stop Derrick Henry, it's JJ Watt. And I think that if this is his last, not his last game as a Texan, because I don't know what's going on there, but if this is how he's feeling, I don't think they're going to take this lying down. And I think this will be a close game.
I think it'll be a close game too. I've gone Titans because they're just the better team.
I have gone for the Texans because
and that's fine.
I'm a nostalgic man filled with hope and love.
The Cardinals and the Rams. I've gone Cardinals.
Yep.
Cardinals will want to win going into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Saints and Panthers. I'll go Saints.
I don't like having to write down the Saints. I want you to know that. Packers.
Well, by the way, Drew Brees is the first NFL quarterback to break 80,000 yards.
No one
all
cares.
Time. So,
how many Super Bowls has Tom Brady got?
I'm just saying.
Doesn't matter to me.
I know. You don't care about numbers. You only care about championships.
Look,
which
is fine. What I'm looking forward to is when they induct Drew Brees into the Hall of Fame, which I can't argue is going to happen. Is Tom Brady not being able to clap because the weight of his Super Bowl rings holds his hands down too much? Or all you hear from the back of the room is this.
Clink, clink.
Noise of the rings clapping together. Because that's what matters.
Yes,
Super Bowl rings.
The Packers will beat the Bears.
Well, this one's interesting.
I know it's interesting, but it shouldn't be interesting. That's the problem.
It is because if the Bears win, they clinch their playoff spot.
Right.
If the Packers beat them, they achieve nothing. Packers are clinched. So,
I mean, if I were the Packers, I would just put the biggest FU on display.
yeah.
And
But
just
if you put the
beat
biggest
the
FU on
Bears.
display, that means a lot of Aaron Rodgers throwing.
Yeah.
Do you want to save him for the playoffs?
He's Aaron Rodgers.
Oh yeah.
Chiefs.
Chiefs.
I think
I love
Patrick
we don't even
Mahomes could
say
play
the other
this
team.
game.
Like, as the host, I feel that you should be like, this team is playing this team. What's your pick? And we go this. Whereas we just say the team we think we're going to win. And we don't even validate the other team with a response.
Well, because it's the Chargers. Do you want to validate the Chargers in any way?
I mean, I've written down the Chiefs because I think the Chiefs are going to violate the Chargers.
Right.
But
I think Patrick Mahomes could play this game blindfolded and still win.
Also, another thing, just because you've reminded me, for Browns fans having a go at Baker Mayfield, do you know who he's got a better touchdown to interception ratio than?
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady, Drew Brees, and Patrick Mahomes.
Well, basically, he's got a better touchdown to interception ratio than all of the MVP candidates, I believe.
Yeah. So you've got a better touchdown to interception ratio than Drew Brees, who, let's be honest, I don't care about, Tom Brady, and then you're going to have the guy that you're going to have to move Tom Brady's statue out of the way for.
Yeah.
And put Paddy Mahomes, the Master Chief, who apparently is getting the Halo game early, and because Bungie are so fanboy, there is a Patrick Mahomes Spartan in the next Spartan game.
Okay. Everybody needs to relax. So the Seahawks are going to beat the 49ers.
Yeah.
The Raiders are going to beat the Broncos.
Good. I'm going to go with
Washington is going to beat the Eagles.
No, I'm going to go with the Eagles because, as we know, Carson Wentz has to play well at the end of the season to validate his contract.
But you see, that's just not going to happen.
But no, that's how it works. He's got to play
true.
well at the end of the season so that next season they keep him.
Right.
Oh, that
and
worked.
Then everybody goes, why have you done this?
Okay. Are we ready to quiz?
Not quite yet, because I do want to talk about this.
Oh, yeah. Can I beer while you do that?
Yes, you can. So the World Juniors have been going on the past little while. It started on Christmas Day. Canada is 3-0. They are the only team to go 3-0, or 4-0, excuse me. 33 goals for, 4 goals against. Devin Levi has been phenomenal in net, despite seeing not a whole lot of shots in most of the games.
I think he gets bored.
Yeah, there's been some questions as to whether or not he should have a phone in his pants so that he can just start scrolling through TikTok while his team pumps the Finns for 17 shots in the first period.
So this was another one that we should have recorded, but one of the most resounding things that I have ever said sports-wise is, especially in a sport where you're launching a projectile at a keeper and it's coming in a lot. So lacrosse, hockey,
field hockey. What else has shots? I mean, basketball has shots, but it's not at someone.
Keeper. If there is a keeper sat in a goal that you're launching a ball at great speed, set plays and masking it to see where he's going to be and all that kind of stuff is great. But as someone who played lacrosse goalie for a year and a half, if you give me 17 shots in the first half, I don't want it. I'm having an annoyed conversation with my defense to go, what are you doing? Because even in the hockey pads, which are huge, a puck coming in at what do they normally shoot at? 70, 80 mile an hour?
minimum.
Yeah, it's not fun.
No, it's not fun. And the worst part about it is you're tired.
Yeah, you've got to try and give 100% effort on that. And even if, the worst thing in the world as someone who played defense and that is if we can't get the ball upfield, I don't get to rest. You are constantly playing and you're constantly getting ready and you're constantly trying to spot and you're constantly thinking about where you're stood, what your defense should be doing, calling things out,
Meanwhile, Devin Levi sat there with his arms on the post, just watching from afar, going, this is a good time.
Yeah.
And that's basically what he's done for the whole group series for Canada, because they demolished the Germans 16-2. It wasn't even close.
Ooh.
And they beat the Swiss 10-0 or 10-1. So, yes, they have been scored on in every game.
Yeah.
But
what does the saving percentage work out at? Because you said in this most recent game it was 10 shots on goal to 1 shot let in, which is a score percentage in the 90%.
Yeah, so if I find Devin Levi here, he has faced a total of 61 shots on goal.
Okay, 61.
That's over 4 games. Canada had 60 shots on goal in 1.5 games, like 4 then. Let me just bring up the statistics though, because the IIHF website is weird. Where like what are you saying?
You're gonna watch Jared do maths in a minute. It's gonna be glorious.
No, because we're going to bring up the stats here. So Devin Levi's save percentage is 916, so 917. That is league average in the NHL, which is pretty good. That's MIP percentage. I don't even know what that means. His save percentage is 951, which is phenomenal because he did get a shutout. So excuse me, the Swiss did not score on him. He did get a shutout. 4 wins, 0.82 goals against average. So he is the best goalie in the tournament. There's no question. It's not even close because he's the only goalie with 4 wins. The next best goalie is Spencer Knight for the United States, who has 2 wins, 1 loss, 2 shutouts, though, for Spencer Knight. But in that loss, he did not play well. He's bounced back since then. What I will say is that people were very worried about Team Canada when they played the Slovaks and only won 3-1 on an empty net goal that made it 3. It was 2-1 for the majority of the game. The majority of the Slovakian chances were on the power play. Slovakia did not have, I would say, more than, just from my eye test, more than 4 or 5 offensive opportunities at 5-on-5 at even strength. Everything else was on the power play for the Slovaks because Canada took 6 penalties. And then they came back.
There's an element of when we had the conversations in lacrosse, was when you're a man down in lacrosse, it's expected to score. We used to do a drill that was 3-on-2. And me and another defender used to spend hours trying to think of interesting ways that you can't cover 3 guys with 2 men. So if you've got a free man, you inevitably have one defender that's trying to cover 2 people. It's just how that works. And the problem then is that, well, that one person's going to get a shot off. It's just going to happen. So I think losing scores on plays where you're a man down is going to happen. It's the purpose of the power play.
It is going to happen. And what Canada did is next game, they took way fewer penalties. I don't think they had a single penalty against Finland, which is phenomenal. They certainly hadn't when I tuned in, and I didn't watch the whole game, but I don't remember exactly how it was. But there was very few, if any, penalties. I'll just bring it up here to refresh my memory. But to go from 6 penalties against Slovakia and barely beating them to no penalties, just to confirm, yes, 0 penalties to Finland's 5. I mean, that's a complete turnaround for the team, in my opinion. You've got a team that's already full of 19 first-round picks. It's the most first-round picks on any team ever, I believe. They had 20, but then Kirby Doc got hurt and can't play. So 19 first-round picks. The team is absolutely stacked to the brim with talent.
When your first line is first round picks and your second line is first round picks
and your third line is first round picks,
third round pick, like when you're dropping to a second round pick on the fourth line, you're like, I think we're going to be okay.
Yeah. So everybody that was worried about Canada not performing well against Slovakia, I had full faith that they were going to turn it around.
Team.
And it was, and you have to give way more credit to Slovakia than I think a lot of people are. Slovakia played the defensive game of their lives, preventing Canada from scoring more than 2 goals. The third one was an empty netter, so who cares?
Yeah.
You held Canada to 2 goals. That's not a slap on Canada. That is a round of applause for Team Slovakia. And they should be really proud of themselves, and I'm sure they were at the end of the game. Because everybody that wasn't Slovakia and expected this game to be a blowout.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things that when you play Team Canada, like when the United Kingdom played Team Canada, I was happy that you didn't destroy us. Because, I think one of the guys that plays on the United Kingdom, they're not all professionals. I think one of them's a plumber. I'm sure he's a very good plumber. He's a very good ice hockey player as well. And you're playing against professionals. And we didn't completely get obliterated by you, which
and they weren't even our best professionals either.
All right, shut up.
They were like the guys in the Swiss league and stuff.
One day, Team Canada will lose to Team GB. And on that day, I will be the happiest human being ever, because there will be no way.
Are you sure you're going to be alive?
Oh, it'll happen. Okay. There'll be no way that you will ever live that down. Ever.
So to move on from that, the Austrians and the Swiss are in, what would have been the relegation round, but there is no relegation this year. But the Swiss and the Austrians finish 8th and 9th. The Germans, who beat the Swiss, they got through to the qualifying round, the quarterfinals, which is a lot of fun. And I'm really happy for the Germans, actually. I don't think it's going to go very well because they're going to play the Russians. And what I'm concerned about, so the quarterfinals are tomorrow, January 2nd. Russia's playing Germany because Russia finished second in the group B, I believe. Finished second. Yes.
Who finished?
Finland plays Sweden, which will probably be the best game of the day. Because those two countries hate each other on the ice surface, and they're both fairly good countries. I think Finland is a little weaker than I anticipated based on how Canada played them, but Sweden, I think, has a good chance of winning this game. Sweden barely lost to the Russians in overtime, and Sweden, they held their own against the United States, but it was a back-to-back. You play Russia on the 30th and then the United States on the 31st. Like, you're going to be gassed. And I don't know. I think we need to get rid of these back-to-backs at the World Juniors, to be honest, especially in the round robin.
It's not like for recovery either. Because if you can't 4 hours in, you're not really going to be physically recovered. You're still going to be tired. Which means you're going to hold back in one of the games. Either you hold back in the first game and you're okay for the second, or you work yourself to the bone in the first and you're tired for the second.
And that's exactly what happened to the Swedes. They worked to the bone against Russia and barely lost. Probably shouldn't have lost, in my opinion. I think they actually played better than the Russians.
Mm-hmm.
And then just got dummied by the Americans because they were so gassed by,
Yeah.
by
Yeah, I
their
can't argue
effort in
that.
the first game. And when it matters so much, because truly the round robin in the World Juniors matters. Every game of the World Juniors matters.
Mhm.
So to be playing on a back to back like it's a junior, like it's part of the your junior hockey season, I don't get it. And they've been doing it forever. And to me, I mean, Canada is the only team that won both their back to back games.
But then that's probably because if you're looking at how
Well, Canada structured their back to back so that they played Germany and then Slovakia.
but I think your team is so talented and so deep that you can. I don't think you used the same people in the first game as you did in the second.
You're
Not the
right,
same
because
amount.
one kid got hurt and another kid got suspended.
Yeah. So I'd probably say that in the first game you may have used your starters, and then in the second game you might have not held back, but you used, your second line, which is
Well,
still.
we had a couple of guys for sure that had to be replaced, like I
Yeah.
said, because one was injured, didn't play against Slovakia, and the other one was suspended for that game against Slovakia. So not only was Canada, a little bit tired. I'm not going to disrespect Germany, but it was a pretty lopsided victory. And also for the people who were saying, "Oh, Canada ran up the score," Canada stopped celebrating after they scored their 7th goal. They put it in the net and they just kind of tapped gloves and went back to center ice. They didn't do the flyby of the bench, and they're not celebrating like, yeah, right. The Americans played the Austrians and didn't quite do the same, didn't quite respect the Austrians the same. And I think that may come to bite them, perhaps. I don't know.
There is an element of me that maybe at these tournaments you should have the same as rugby has, where in certain rugby tournaments you have refs that has a discretionary action, which is called it's like an act of glory or an act of mercy or something like that, a mercy rule, which is if you're playing another team and the other team gets up by like 6 scores, they just go, sorry lads, like they'll either, if that happens in the first 10 minutes, they'll go, all right, something's wrong here. But in certain rugby games or something like that, it's just not. I mean, I remember once when I played rugby at senior school, we didn't have everyone with us. We had, I think it was 15 guys traveled to the game, and we turned up and the other team had, I think, 42 guys, and they just pounded us. And after about 20 minutes, our coach just we lost by 42-0, and basically like they just were a rugby school that just got it right. And at a certain point, our coach walked over to the other sideline and went, "Look, it's not fair on my guys." And the ref went, "Yeah, not fair." Finish the game. And the other team turned around to us and went, I mean, we were annoyed at our coach for throwing in the towel, but we were just going to get hurt. It just wasn't worth it.
Well, what I'll say is that I think this is possibly one of the more lopsided World Juniors I've seen in a little while, but also the opposite end of it is that every team has had a bad game. Like, yes, Canada won 3-1, but it wasn't their best performance, right? There was the second half of a back-to-back. They were down a couple of players, and they were tired, right? Mm-hmm. The Czech Republic shut out the Russians 2-0. So, and then 2 days later got shut out by the Americans 7-0. Meanwhile, the Americans lost to the Russians 5-3 on the first day of the tournament. So the Russians beat the Americans, get shut out by the Czechs, who get dummied by the Americans 7-0, who lost to the Russians, who get right. Like it's a little bit like, pardon?
It's a bit like watching me trying to figure out the playoff situations in the NFL. I have to sit there and go, so if this team wins, then this does this and this.
Yeah.
Who knows?
So to wrap up this discussion, the Americans are going to play the Slovaks, And if Slovakia puts in the effort that they did against the Americans, or against the Canadians, sorry, there could be an upset, or at least a very good game there. But they really have to figure out how to stop the Americans' first line, because that first line of Trevor Zegras, Alex Turcotte, and Arthur Kaliev has been unstoppable at this tournament. Zegras has the most points. He's the best player in the tournament. And so the Slovaks have to have an answer for him. And if they don't, then it's going to be a blowout.
Yeah, I can't argue with you on that one.
And then finally, it's the Czechs playing the Canadians. And again, if the Czech Republic puts in the same effort that they did against the Russians, it could be a very good game. So there's the potential to have 4 good games here, but there's also the potential to have 3 blowouts and 1 somewhat close game, but is still kind of lopsided because I think Sweden is better than Finland. So
cool. Yeah,
we'll see. That's all on the docket for tomorrow. I'm going to say Russia, Canada, United States, and Sweden all get through.
That makes sense to me.
And then I'm not sure who ends up facing who if that happens. I think Canada would play Russia, and the United States would play Sweden in the semifinals. It kind of got mixed up a little bit from where they originally had it planned, because the Americans suddenly won Group B when they were in third. But Group B was like 1 point was separating the top 3 teams.
That's weird. Okay, cool.
But anyways, it's a lot of fun. One thing that I do have to say as well is that as great as this tournament is, and as much as I always enjoy the World Juniors, this year, we had a group of 60 young women in Canada who were not provided the same opportunity to represent their country. Our U18 girls had their tournament canceled back in September. And I tweeted on Christmas Day basically saying that, I have thought about them every day and how they were not provided the same opportunity. You're looking at a few hundred young women across the world, in Russia, the United States, Sweden, Finland, Canada, and there's one more country that I'm forgetting, and I apologize, but it is 6 countries. It's the top 6 countries in the world. And this is the top tournament for girls, for young women, is the U18s, because there is no under 20 tournament like the World Juniors for young women. So, and it's personal because there were 4 Burlington Barracudas who would have had a chance to make this roster. I haven't done the research to go in and look at the 56 other young women across Canada who were on this list. I've seen it before, but I have to look at them more in depth. But I'd like to think that all 4 of our girls would have made the team.
Yeah,
certainly all 4 of them are incredibly talented. We've got Tiana, who's very tall, brings some size to the blue line, which is something that is that can be lacking in U18 girls hockey in particular, depending on some girls haven't quite filled out yet. Is the simple fact of that, because they're all 17, right? So Tiana brings some height and some size to the blue line. Olivia Moon brings an unbelievable shot from the point. She's probably got the best slap shot possibly in Canada. Certainly in Ontario, I would say. And so, and she's our captain. I'd like to say that she had a good chance of it. Leah McSween might have one of the best hands, certainly on our team, potentially across Ontario. And she's got some incredible speed. And then Christina Walker has hockey sense beyond my reckoning. And she's an incredible talent as well. So you've got 2 offensive talents and 2 defensive talents that, again, bias. I'd like to say that they would have made the team, but the point is that, again, it's a bit of an example of how the IIHF is still not fully prioritizing women's hockey like they say they are.
It seems like there's a disjoint there somewhere. I wouldn't be able to tell where it is, but
yeah. And these guys that are in Edmonton right now are mostly the same age as a lot of these girls that would have been.
So the risk's the same, the logic's the same. I don't really understand this.
Yeah, other than the fact that all the players would be under 18 going to this tournament for the women, whereas some of the players in the men's tournament are under 18. But the Austrians have a 16-year-old. I've seen there's a Finnish kid with a cage on. That's how you can tell that they're not 18 yet if they've got a cage on.
Okay.
I've seen multiple players across this tournament with cages on. So the same rules and regulations that apply to them would apply to all of these young women.
The cage, I assume you mean the metal face cage, because they all have to wear a visor, don't they?
Yeah, everybody has to wear a visor. But yes, if you are under 18, you have to wear a cage. So that is the rule across junior hockey for boys. But anyways, so to conclude that, there will be an episode coming out about our 4 girls who would have been a part of the U18 camp. They were part of it, who had a chance to be on the U18 junior team. That'll be out January 5th because that's the day that it would have started. The tournament would have started in Sweden on January 5th.
Cool.
So that wraps that all up. And I'm still excited, of course, for the medal rounds and whatnot for our lads. I'm assuming that Team Canada is going to, I'm assuming that Team Canada is going to win, to defend the title, because they are the best team on paper and I think on the ice. But as you'll see, I've admitted our special guest of the day, Annabelle Bullock, is going to be joining us, Gavin's girlfriend. So I think
I've managed to have even less input into what goes on in this.
So she has created quite the quiz for us. It's a New Year's special quiz. We're just waiting for her to finally connect. There she is.
Yeah, turn the light.
She's designed a very in-depth, I think, quiz, and so I'll hand it over to her to describe it to us. Oh, and she's wearing her Maple Leafs jersey. How lovely!
Yes, I am dressed for the occasion with Maple Leafs.
Gavin, do you want to grab a jersey just so that you don't feel left out now? Or are you going to be defiant in not having a jersey now?
Well, I said to you before the podcast.
I know you did, but I didn't realize that Bella was going to wear a jersey. So you can go get one now if you want.
Hurt my feelings because you said, well, you could wear your Patriots one, but what's the point?
I mean,
I don't like you. I'm not known. Hurt my feelings. It hurts. It's sad.
Are we ready for the quiz now?
Oh, who knows?
Yes, you'll have to tell us how this is going to work.
Yeah, so let me just share my screen.
Jared, I want to point out that she's already a better host than you.
See, now you're just trying to hurt my feelings.
Can you
because I hurt
enable me
yours.
to share my screen, Jared, please, and thank you.
Oh, yes. So I have to... how do I do this? Oh, here we go. Multiple participants can share screens simultaneously. I think you should be able to do it now.
Watches the podcast that when Jared concentrates, the tops of his eyebrows go up.
What do you mean?
Is it working now?
Should be.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, so you guys should be able to see my screen.
Really quickly, I get confused.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so we're going to be using something called Kahoot.
Oh.
So if you guys grab your phones, go to www.kahoot.it, and then there should be a pop-up asking for a game pin, and that is the game pin. So your phones will work like your buzzers. So you'll see the question come up on my screen, and there will be 4 options for you to choose from. I believe it's just the colors and the shapes that are on your phone, not the actual answers. So please make sure you read the answers before you pick a button.
Oh, I entered that wrong.
Come on, Jared.
5-1-5.
My phone's running low on battery as well.
God's sake, Gav.
You didn't tell me I needed to use my phone. I had a pen.
I did. I told you yesterday.
Oh, I wasn't paying attention.
But yeah, so you get points if you choose the right answer, but you also get additional points if you answer quickly and correctly.
I would just like to point out that this is the most effort that's ever gone into our podcast.
Jared, I wanted you to know that she kept she would ask me about this, and she would be like, typing until like 6 o'clock at night and stuff like that. And I was like, my preparation for the podcast is 5 minutes before Jared calls me. I get a
Open
pen.
a browser.
Yeah.
Oh, we're ready. Okay.
On my phone.
So is the question's going to pop up here? Is it?
So the
yeah.
question's
Look
gonna
up. Okay.
pop up on here. So welcome to the quiz. So there's going to be 20 questions, 2 rounds of 10 questions. Okay. And if you want to dispute any of the answers, I have all my notes and cheat sheet right next to me.
Do I get a point?
No, you don't get a point for disputing.
No, but you said there's going to be 20 questions, and I said yes, there are, and that's correct.
That's not one of the 20 questions. Sorry.
Relax.
But yeah, so round 1, rules are rules. So this is going to be about rules in various different sports. I appreciate, Jared, your specialism is in ice hockey. Gavin, your specialism is in American football, or just football if you are from the States. I do apologize. But I think it's good to learn about other sports as well and just have a basic knowledge of other sports that are going on in the world. You may disagree.
It's fair. No.
You may disagree, but so
question 3.
How many different types of fencing weapons are there? Oh, and you are timed.
What?
Yes, you have to answer quickly.
Hey!
Wow, that was
Well
an
done,
absolute
guys.
guess.
I had no idea.
From both of you, but yes, there are 3 different types of fencing weapons. There is, and I apologize if I butcher the name pronunciation now for any of the sports.
Way much more seriously than we've ever taken this podcast.
So it's épée, foil, and saber.
What was the first one?
Épée, EP.
Interesting. I wonder what those look like.
Do you get more points?
Jared, you must have answered a bit quicker than Gavin, so you got more points.
I didn't know it was a speed thing.
That's the way to ditch.
I literally explained that in the beginning. The quicker you answer, and if it's correct, you get more points. So, true or false? In women's lacrosse, defensive players may move through the goal circle.
What a great photograph.
Ooh.
Damn.
It is true.
I thought that was one of the many millions of rules that they had.
No, according to England Lacrosse for the 2020 to 21 season, defensive players can move through their own goal circle when defending.
So did they change it?
I've got to be honest. I played lacrosse for 3 years.
Yeah, but you guys played men's lacrosse.
But at one point, someone turned around to me and said, "What are the rules of men's lacrosse?" And I turned around and went, "There's rules." I didn't know that. I just got told things by referees and went, "Okay."
That's because men's lacrosse is contact, women's isn't.
Well, the main rule for men's lacrosse that I know is because everyone whines about it is hitting in the back.
Yeah.
Because somebody would fall on the ground and then they'd go, "Push in the back, sir." Sir. They're the most polite people when they argue with the referees.
Oh, that and getting conked around the head as well, being hit in the head. That's not fun.
Yeah, you just can't do that in general in most sports. Okay.
Ready?
I have to.
Yes.
Right, this one's complicated. So, which of the following attacking players is not offside for UK football? I've given you a minute for this one. So, which one of the following attack players is not offside in UK football? So, is it this is like the position of each thing. So for triangle, for example, the goal is first, then the attacking player, then the ball, and then a defensive player. I've never seen so much concentration, but well done, guys.
There's a lot of reading involved in that one.
Oh. Ooh, the winner has a streak with 3 correct answers in a row.
Yeah, all right. Wait till we get to some hockey stuff.
There's no hockey stuff in it, mate.
You don't know that, Gav.
What?
Which of the following is allowed in sumo wrestling? Wait.
Damn it.
Yeah, slapping is perfectly allowed. You can happily just bitch slap the person in sumo wrestling. Hair pulling is seen as unprofessional. Eye gouging, health and safety risk. Punching, health and safety risk.
This
The
is.
winner's now
I
got
was just thinking it'd be more interesting if you could grab onto their ponytails, but oh well.
It's
You
just
can give them the world's worst wedgie, but you know.
Yeah.
So true or false? For a javelin throw to count, it just needs to hit the ground in the playable field. Ooh,
God's sake.
decisive.
Oh,
No, it is false. It needs to not only land in the playable field, it also needs to land tip first and stick in the ground.
this must be embarrassing because one of the people on this podcast is a professional sportscaster.
That was a bit vague.
I'm sorry. If you
If
ever
I'm
ask me to do
honest.
this again, I will be more specific.
Just that one.
Just that one. So question 6, for the Kennel Club agility competitions, which of the following is a false criterion for competing dogs? They must be at least 12 months old, must be registered with the Kennel Club, must be measured and put into an appropriate class prior to competing, or must not be in season if applicable. So which of these is false? It's a false criterion.
Well, I've already clicked. I didn't mean to click on that.
I did
My
say
phone screen
gotta be
went
careful.
dark, so I touched it to bring it up again, and it picked an
Well,
answer
be
for
careful,
me.
Jared. You got to be
Neither of
careful,
us
but
got it.
neither of
Neither
you
of us
got
got
that
it right.
right. Neither of you got that right. So must be at least 12 months old. Dogs must be at least 18 months old to compete.
Okay,
The
hold
rest
on.
are true.
I need to make my screen not go dark after less than a minute.
Okay, we'll wait for you, Jared, to stop your phone from going dark.
Well, because if it's going to screw me, I want to screw myself over and not technology do that. Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
It gives me a big thing that says you've got it incorrect. It's huge.
Good.
Hurts.
Well, I've seen it more than you have, so get over it.
So, according to the ESDCTA, bandages, use of voice, and blinders are illegal in the dressage competition. True or false? True. Well done, guys.
There's a lot of words there that I didn't quite grasp.
I don't know what the ESDCA stands for.
You didn't even have all the letters when you said it.
Dressage and Combined Training Association.
Sure.
Yay,
Really?
guys got points. But don't worry, Joe.
Yes!
You can claw this back.
Just give me ones that Gavin can't guess properly.
Question 8. In a game of chess, which piece can only move diagonally? Knight, castle or rook, bishop or queen? Correct.
Yeah, that.
I would hope, because I know both of you can play chess.
We have played each other in chess.
I was going to say
Yeah,
that might have been the
thing.
easiest question so far.
That was more a speed one.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't know who clicked it first, to be honest. I have 883 points for it. How many did
I
you
have
get?
957.
Bollocks.
Ooh. To be fair, Jared, you are halfway around the world, so Maybe that's an factor.
No, it pops up at the same time, I think.
What move is awarded the most points in Olympic figure skating?
Oh,
The
God.
backflip, axel jump, the Lutz, or the Schalke?
The actual one.
That's called the Salchow.
Schalke, sorry. Again, I apologize if I
Balls.
butcher any of these name pronunciations.
You got them all right. Triple toe.
Hurts him. But...
Shit.
Oh! Oh!
Gavin doesn't even know what these words mean.
I do.
No, you
Oh.
Dating
don't.
an ice skating girl.
You don't know what an axle jump is.
It is. It's the one where they jump up and they spin around in circles.
Yeah, and what about a triple Lutz?
The triple Lutz is something that you order from Burger King.
No.
And it comes with fries and maybe a drink, depending on the meal deal.
Oh my God. But no, it is the axel
Right?
jump.
Okay.
That question has genuinely pissed me off now.
Why? Because you should have known the answer? Or
Yes, and Gavin shouldn't have known the
You
answer.
used to do ice. Did you used to do? Weren't you initially trained to do ice dancing?
I actually did take a year of figure skating, but I was about 7. No,
Yeah, well,
5.
evidently.
But I also watch
fall
figure
over on the
skating.
ice. Me and ice don't go together. So, final question for this round. In netball, only the goal shooter can score points. True or false? Hey, well done, guys. It is false. Goal attack also score points.
Did I get more points than Gavin? 933.
Oh, I got 960.
God's sake.
Are you just lying to annoy him?
I think he is, because there's a
Yeah,
shit-eating
he-
grin on his face.
Key thing with Gavin when he lies, his eyebrows go up slightly and his pitch goes up slightly and he starts to smile.
It's like when I concentrate.
Do you smile slightly when you concentrate?
No, but when Jared concentrates, he pitches his head forward and raises his eyebrows
Fair enough.
because he's going to do it the next time something comes up on the screen.
Okay, so round 2, again, 10 questions. I'm going to move over onto my other piece of paper with all my answers on it in case anyone wants to argue with me.
Look at the level of preparation. I bet she's got more than one pen.
I've got more than one pen.
My pen fell underneath the sofa about 5 minutes ago, and I don't know where it's gone.
I have a mug with all my pens in. So this is learn something new every day. So these are interesting facts about sport. That's the general theme for this.
True.
In target shooting, shooting a ton is slang for shooting 100 out of 100. True or false? Hey, what a guy. It is true.
Jared, I was going to have problems in my household if I got that one wrong.
I was going to say, I feel like there was a bit of a bias on that question.
Well, no, Jared, because how much do you...
Not really, because a ton is 100 anyway.
Well...
Like in general slang.
Jared, you also doubt how much I learn or listen
What
general
slang
competition.
I don't know. I've always, like, whenever someone's mentioned 100, it's always been called a ton.
This sounds
Maybe
British.
it's just an English. I was going to say maybe it's just a British thing.
It's definitely not a North American thing. We say a ton and just refer to a ton as a lot of something.
We also do that.
Not specifically 100.
A ton technically isn't even 100.
No.
It's 850.
Ooh. Well, the answer was true.
It's 1,000 pounds, I think.
Pounds.
Question 2. Golf is the only sport to be played on the moon. True or false? True.
Definitely click that first.
We'll see.
Got 975 points. I definitely clicked that first.
Yeah, there's a maximum of like 1,000 for each.
I got 982.
Come back. You can get 982. Get out of here.
Question 3. The longest tennis match took place in 2010 at Wimbledon, but how long was the match to the nearest hour? 20 hours, 11 hours, 5 hours, or 18 hours? It was 11 hours, 5 minutes. Neither of you got that right. It took 3 days to complete the match because they had to keep breaking it up.
Who played?
Again, I apologize for names. John Eisner, representing USA, beat Nicolas Mahut or Mouet from France.
Jared, I just want to point something out before we move on to the next question, that you asked her a question and she had the answer ready instead of like going, well, let me have a, like, you know, this is how hosting should be done. I bet she's got a song ready as well for the outro.
I mean,
I'm sorry, he's just trying to throw me off. I know who John Isner is. I don't know who the other French guy is.
Yeah, I'm probably really butchering the last name. It's spelled Mahut.
Mahut.
Care about tennis.
I don't know.
No idea.
He doesn't play anymore, so he's not important, I guess.
Yeah, tennis and table tennis are my least favorite sports.
Oh, tennis is great.
Question 4. Why are the Olympic rings coloured black, red, blue, green, and yellow? You guys answer quite quickly, so I'm not even going to bother saying the answers anymore. You both look so nervous.
Because I should know this.
You should know this. Everyone should know this.
I mean, I personally will admit I don't. So whatever happens from this point is a fluke, Jared.
Ooh.
I'm glad our brains were both wrong in the same way.
They are not the original colours of the ancient Olympics. If you take the 5 colours as well as the white background, apparently they can represent pretty much or have some resemblance to every flag that competes in the Olympic Games.
Yeah.
So everyone can relate to them in some way.
Yeah.
You're saying, yeah, like that makes sense.
Yeah.
Neither of you got it right.
I have an excuse, as in I don't care.
You should care. Everyone should care. So question 5, what colour underwear are Major League Baseball umpires required to wear when umpiring?
That's a pun.
Well done.
Oh!
Well done, both of you. It is black, just in case they split their pants while on the job. That is the quote from
the rule book?
Yeah.
Wow.
Just in case they split their pants, they have to be wearing black underwear.
In Jared's face that he knew that one and was expecting to get one on me there.
Yeah.
And I just destroyed you.
Yeah, we'll see. Question 6. Which NFL team was the first to hire a professional cheerleading squad? Jacksonville Jaguars, Chicago Bears, Baltimore Ravens, or Dallas Cowboys?
I've been with the oldest team. Oh, yeah.
Well done, guys. There was so much stress in your faces then.
My brain initially, when she said it, went Miami, because Miami have always been known for their cheerleaders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they've been known for them. That doesn't mean they were the first to have them.
No, Dallas Cowboys were the first, and they hired them in 1972. Pulling away slightly, Gavin.
Don't jinx me.
It's a consistent 3,000 points ahead.
So question 7. The average lifespan of an MLB baseball is 5 to 7 pitches, 8 to 10 pitches, 2 to 4 pitches, or 3 to 5 pitches. This is really interesting. When you get the question wrong, both of you get it wrong. And then when you get it right, both of you get it right.
Except for when Gavin gets it right and I get it wrong.
Yeah, apart from then.
Because he's pulled an answer out of his behind.
But no, the answer is 5 to 7 pitches, which could be the fact that professional league baseball players generally hit the ball with around 4,145 pounds or 1,880 kilos of force.
Well, I clicked 3 to 5 because every time it goes into the dirt, they get a new one.
I think
Like
this means
literally, if
making it
the pitcher throws it into the sand around home plate by accident, they go, "Okay, get me another one." Every time.
Not a very long lifetime, is it?
No. But
No.
effectively, once
Probably-
they've been dinged a couple of times by a bat, then they're
Yeah.
misshapen
that
now.
much force.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't blame them. So, next question. Which of the following has the highest rate of deaths per 100,000 population? Skydiving, swimming, running, or cycling? Oof.
Swimming.
Both of you got that wrong.
I would.
Swimming is more
'Cause-
dangerous than skydiving.
Because more people do it.
Deaths per 100,000 population.
Yeah, it's because
You
more
want to go
people
through the
do
numbers?
it.
No.
No? Okay. Let this be known, people. Skydive, don't swim. Just skip
Logic
through.
is going out the window.
According to Yahoo Finance, which of the following is the most expensive to participate in? Competitive equestrian, competitive polo, competitive ski jumping, or recreational wingsuiting? The confusion on both your faces.
No, I've answered.
Oh, you've answered, so we're just waiting on Gavin.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've answered right, well done,
Yes.
guys. Well done. Do you
My
want to-
logic was that for one you need a horse, another
You need a
need
horse for
Oh, no,
equestrian
no,
too,
for
Gav.
both equestrian and competitive
No, no,
polo.
no, 'cause if
The
you
numbers-
do equestrian, you need a horse. If you do competitive polo, you need a horse and a bat.
Right, both of
And
the
high
numbers I have
status.
for price in dollars for competing in both these sports do not include the price of buying a horse.
Yeah, no. Polo clubs are way more exclusive than
no.
equestrian clubs.
Polo competitions are hefty. Like they can be just the competitor like fee. It can be anywhere between $3,500 or $150,000.
I mean, I think that's probably got to be how much it costs to have some like the people there, because you're going to have one guy that looks after the horse.
Oh, there's an additional cost, like typical cost as well for like someone to take care of your horse for a month as well that I found, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's on top of the entry fee, right?
Say again?
That's
Would you
on
have-
top of the entry fee, right?
Say one more time, Gavin.
Would you have more than one horse for polo? Like, would you have a
4.
like?
Typically, they have 4. And that's $2,500 a month that they pay someone to take care of their horse. So evidently, I'm in the wrong line of work.
Yeah, but it's not hard to look after a horse.
I mean, do you enjoy shoveling pounds of shit, Gavin?
Well, yeah, but oh no, it's ill.
Yeah,
Dude,
that's... No.
they're expensive. That's why I didn't include the price of horses.
Okay.
Right, final question. Olympic gold medals since 1912 have been made predominantly out of which metal? Solid gold, sterling silver, nickel, or platinum?
Shit.
Both of you got that wrong. Oh, that's brilliant. But no, sterling silver. Before 1912, they were made out of solid gold. But since 1912, they have been made out of sterling silver. With a gold plating, but there's like
Yeah.
next to no gold in it. I think this year was like 1.7% gold or something like that.
Yeah,
I'm
they're only
annoyed
like 12
because
carat or something.
because I thought that nickel's the easiest metal to plate, so I thought that nickel would be logical.
Yeah, but how many like gold
also
medals do you
cheaper.
realistically produce? Like they're special.
True.
That's
So
it
we've
then.
come to the end of the quiz. So
Ugh.
obviously no one came in third. With 10 out of 20, we have Jared.
Jesus.
And then with 14 out of 20, we have Gavin.
I was 50%.
I would like to thank firstly my family for this momentous occasion. I would like to thank Jared for putting on a podcast that he then lost in. And yeah.
At least you're not a bad winner.
So truly what this means is Gavin is just really good at guessing.
Well done.
And we wish all the losers better luck next week, which that includes myself. And apparently I need to brush up on my own knowledge because
just general knowledge of sports.
There are things in that quiz that I should have known that I didn't. So we'll end it there on that terrible disappointment.
Out of the 20 questions, how many did I get right?
14.
I just wanted you to say it, Jared.
Yeah, you only got 3 more right than me.
How many more?
4.
3 or 4.
How many more? Sorry, just say it.
Gavin, stop being an ass.
Sorry, would you like me to fly to England and actually punch you in the face?
Our door is always open, Jared.
See, there we go. All right. Goodbye.
Bye,
You
guys.
end the podcast. Normally you don't end the podcast.